If you're watching this video, it means that you have thought about how you could model this stone here and how you could model it multiple times, as many times as you have these. And one solution that works is to create a cube, resize it, and place it where it needs to be, and then do duplicates. That works, that's fine. I'm going to show you a different version, which is not better, not worse, but it involves extruding it out, extruding some geometry out of the building geometry. And the reason why I want to do that is to show you so that you can learn something about how to work with extrude efficiently. Okay, because the thing you don't want to do is to do the same thing as many times as you have windows. So it's about learning to be efficient. So we need some geometry to extrude first. So first we are going to need some geometry that matches this stone profile. So again, I'm going to add an edge loop that goes all the way across. So insert edge loop tool, and it's going to go through here, about here. And then there's two things I could do once this is done. I could add some edge loops or split polygon that go here and here. Yeah, we've lost the texture because adding these edge loops mean that it changes the UVs, which means the texture placement of the image. So let's not worry about that. We'll deal with that later. So I could add more or split polygons here, but it would take time. So we've done enough here to be able to do what we want to do. So I'm going to go to mode 4 to speed things up. And I'm going to select all of these faces here. So I'm going to go to face mode, and all of these, which are going to be the stone, are going to be extruded out. It doesn't take too long. That's the only kind of multiple selection we're going to need to do. Almost. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude them all at the same time. So let's get the extrude tool, and I'm going to extrude them out. So you hit 6 if you want to know by how much you need to extrude. I could do that myself, but I kind of know it's about that much. Check to be sure. I'm going to check myself actually to be sure. Problem is that it takes time. And from what we can see, it looks about right. You can check the high resolution image reference if you want. And then we need to extrude. What we're going to need to do is to extrude these two faces on each side out a little bit. So this is where we need to do a bit more multiple selection, but that's going to be the final selection we need to make, because we're going to do one extrude to extrude all of these at the same time. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. And also how important it is to understand the difference between using the local and the global extrude axes. Alright, so I've got all the faces that I want. And let's look at the first one here. So again, I'm going to use extrude. Okay, and let's hit 5 so we can see it in this mode. And now let's look at it from here. Look at what happens if I pull this out. You see, it pulls this one in this direction and it pulls this one in that direction. That's because we are in local axis mode, right? So it's pulling out from the direction of the face selected. If I undo this and click on this, now I'm in global axis, and actually puts the axis in the middle of all the selection. See, they're all going in the same direction, so that's not what we want. So you see the very important difference between global and local axes, especially when you do multiple selection. So that means if you're in global axis mode, here I'm pulling in opposite directions, but they are opposite in globally, but locally to the face, it is the same direction. Okay, so that means I can pull for all the faces. I'm going to pull about that much, which is I think how wide this stone is, and that's going to be our geometry. Okay, so now if we want to see what that looks like, the problem is that we have a surface shader which is completely flat, so I'm going to create a new shader for that. I'm going to go assign new material, and I'm going to create a Lambert material, and you see, let's give it a name. So let's call it our stone building mat. And that allows us to see the shape a little bit better. So that is our window surround finished, and there is one last piece of geometry we need to build. So I'm hitting 6 again to see the texture, and it's going to be right here at the top. Actually, sorry, I'm hitting 6, but I've changed the material, so now there is no texture applied to this material. So what I'm going to do is go back to my previous material by right-clicking on the object and then going assign existing material, and it is Surface Shader 3 that had my my texture. And in a second or two, we should see the top of the building. And you see it's this stone here. I want to have some geometry for that because it may cast some shadow, so it's useful to and it looks like it is quite thick, because if you look at the down pipe here, it looks like the down pipe is actually its diameter is smaller than the diameter of the stone by the look of it. So two ways of doing that. Again, I could create a cube and put it here, or I could do one final insert edge loop, create some geometry and extrude it out. In terms of being efficient with geometry, creating a big cube and scaling it would be a lot more efficient because I've got all these edges here. So if I extrude them out, I'm going to get more geometry. But I'm going to do another extrude, and then later on we can think about optimizing geometry. For now, I'm just trying to be fast and create things as simply as possible. But optimization will be something we worry about later. We're not going to ignore it. Okay, so that's where my stone is going to be. And I'm going to do that offline, but I'm going to select all these faces and extrude them out according to what the stone's doing. And although I said I would select this offline, I think it might be useful for me again to show you how to select these faces efficiently. The way not to do it is like this. Shift, Shift, Shift. That would take ages. So there's more efficient ways of doing so. One way would be to align your camera like this, and I would just select all of these faces. And then I know I've got too much, so I'm going to hit 4, and then I could just simply deselect these ones. And I think that gives me what I want. Another way would be to go to the side view. So I'm going to hit spacebar and then left click and then go to side view. And now I've got the orthographic view. I'm going to go to face mode, and I know it is all of these faces I want to select. So now I can go spacebar, perspective, and that's my selection made. So you see, you could spend too many seconds doing this when it can be done in a few clicks. So I've got my selection. All I need to do now is to extrude by about that much. Might be a little bit too much. And there we go. We can always change that later when we do texturing and we look at where we're going with this building. Okay, and that's our shell done, and we're ready to add some windows. You see all these edges, all these edge loops. There's definitely a lot of cleanup that we can do to be more efficient with our polygon use, but that's something I'm going to do later. For now, I'm going to go back to right-clicking on the object and select Assign Existing Material and choose our stone building mat, which I created earlier.